Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. Purple Moon Holy Land had been treating him with such hostility time and again. Previously, they had intervened in the primal universe internal war, seeking to uproot and destroy the humans' foundation once and for all. And now, they wanted to destroy him in the world of Jin. Luckily, I have received a title. If not, I would be caught unprepared. Being able to self-destruct to destroy my other bodies to ensure my survival is already more than what I can ask for. Luo Feng was a little intimidated during the aftermath of his situation. If he did not receive a title, there could be two possible outcomes. One was to be directly killed by Swan Queen, which would be a true death without any second chance for revival. The other outcome was that with his own willpower, he would have to grasp the few seconds he had to self-destruct before he fell into the illusion. If he could self-destruct, at least he could protect himself from death even if his two other bodies were destroyed. However, the treasures that he had brought along, such as Blood Ghost Blade and Boat of Mausoleum, would be gone, especially the Boat of Mausoleum, since there was a space of inheritance inside. Of course, only an heir would be able to enter the space of inheritance. The space of inheritance was under the control of his other energy body, so even if it was seized by his opponent, that other party would still be unable to enter. However, while the other party was denied entry, his own earthling original body would also have no chance of entering. Only his other energy body could continue to remain within this space of inheritance. And this space of inheritance was lost on the outside. Harmonious Snow looked toward Luo Feng. Milky Way, those two commanders, Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu. How do you intend to deal with them? Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu. Luo Feng frowned. It was clear that he was feeling some anger. Harmonious Snow responded right away. The two of them were not aware of your true identity beforehand. They took you to be an ordinary warrior, which was why they were that. Milky Way, would you, slightly? Harmonious Snow, Luo Feng interrupted him. You may rest assured that I am not so extreme as to go after their lives. However, for pressing their luck and trying to go over my head, there is no way I can let them off easily. He nodded. The punishment for them is very simple. Luo Feng had gone through the punishment once, but what he said made Harmonious Snow blink in disbelief. It was almost unimaginable for someone like Milky Way, who was a godly king, to come up with such a handling method. Do you get it? Luo Feng asked. Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen were in a sorry state. They were both bound by ropes composed of condensed airflow, so there was no way they could move whatsoever. Both lay on the ground. On the surface, they were already a sorry sight, but in their hearts, they felt all the more anxious and flustered. The two could see Luo Feng and Harmonious Snow, who were not far away. Even if they could see the two in conversation, they could not hear a single word that was being discussed. Swan Queen, you really got me into deep trouble this time around, said Fire Polishing Wu, raging and furious. I am also in bitter trouble, too, said Swan Queen, also unable to hold back her emotions. How would I have known? From what I know, the four generals were the highest and most powerful of our world of Jin. Now, this Lord Milky Way has appeared out of nowhere. Our world of Jin is obviously not like what it appears to be the surface. It is much more mysterious. I just did not expect us to have to be the ones to chance upon this mysterious side. Fire Polishing Wu shook his head in agony. The Jin dynasty might have fallen, but out of those formidable great beings, who had followed His Majesty the godly king out to battle back then, there were quite a few who were much stronger than the four great generals. Perhaps this Milky Way was one of the super great beings, who had followed His Majesty the godly king out to war and managed to survive. Let's wait. And pray we are spared. Fire polishing Wu and Swan Queen lay down, feeling hopeful. At that moment, General Harmonious Snow approached them from afar. General! General! Both pairs of eyes lit up. They had been under his command for a long time, so they believed they should have a chance of surviving. General Harmonious Snow walked over. Looking at Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen, who were both lying on the floor, he said without further ado, "The two of you are lucky. Lord Milky Way does not want to take your lives." Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu let out sighs of relief. So long as they were spared, how good it would be to stay alive. If this had been a war with other powerful groups, losing their lives would not have been a big deal, but to die in their own territories would be a grievance too great to bear. Both of you might be exempt from the death penalty, but certainly not spared the rod. General Harmonious Snow looked them both in the eyes. You both have accumulated a tremendous amount of military credits over countless years, and have quite a number of treasures in your possession. Now, you shall be stripped of all your military credits and treasures as a form of punishment. Ah? Both pairs of eyes widened in shock. Heavens! How could this be? This was simply... Did you not hear me? General Harmonious Snow frowned as he ordered, "Leave your treasures behind." Why aren't you both leaving? The ropes composed of condensed airflow on Fire Polishing Wu and Swan Queen automatically broke down and dispersed. If you are not going to leave your treasures and depart, does it mean you intend to give your lives instead? There was a hint of coldness in his eyes as General Harmonious Snow spoke. How different Milky Way's status was. He was an heir highly regarded by His Majesty the Godly King. For His Majesty, sacrificing a warrior was not a loss worth lamenting, but the situation would be different for an heir. Two miserable true gods of void space, still hoping to bargain for more than their worth. Yes, yes, yes. Fire Polishing Wu said, first to respond. Thank you, Lord Milky Way, for your benevolence. Thank you, General, for your help. Hua. All of a sudden, a pile of treasures appeared beside him. Within an instant, all of Fire Polishing Wu's automaton-type treasures, soul treasures, armors, weapons, and all other materials appeared before them. He kept none at all. Even the so-called suit of armor on his body, which was, at that moment, merely godly power in its condensed form. Harmonious Snow looked at Swan Queen. Although she was most reluctant, Swan Queen was unwilling to die. I will leave mine, too. Within a short moment, Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu had left a pile of treasures. Then, now in a sorry state, they flew off. Their manner as they flew was no longer mighty, as it had been before. Swan Queen no longer left that compulsory streak of flowing, rainbow light she always had while flying. Instead, she flew off wordlessly in a most forlorn manner. No other warriors were around to witness such a scene. They are gone. General Harmonious Snow said. Luo Feng walked over and looked at all the treasures on the ground. He nodded and with a single wave, putting away everything before him. As for the military credits that they both accumulated, I will arrange for those to be transferred over to you. General Harmonious Snow lamented with a sigh. What a ruthless hand you dealt. For lawmasters and true gods, they are still able to earn military credits through the missions assigned by the army. But the moment they become true gods of void space, there are no such army missions anymore. If they want to earn military credits, it is incomparably difficult. Yet you took everything that they had painstakingly earned over the countless years away so swiftly and quickly. Luo Feng merely smiled. Of course, he knew. This was the reality in the world of Jin. Lawmasters and true gods were all assigned army missions, but to assign true gods of void space, who were commanders with missions. For what? Could they possibly be assigned to kill other true gods of void space of the world of Jinn? This was why they were not assigned any army missions, unless there was some foolish true god of void space who dared to provoke the army. Then a few true gods of void space would be deployed to settle the situation. This was when a certain amount of military credits would be given out. But to provoke the army, how many of these true gods of void space would be foolish enough to dare to provoke the army? This was why, generally, the only way for true gods of void space to earn military credits was to command, lead, teach, and guide troops. Commanding itself was a contribution of service. Naturally, every different level of command would bestow these true gods of void space with different amounts of military credits. However, accumulating military credits in this way was far too slow. General Harmonious Snow left, too. Luo Feng headed toward the military point. Just as he entered the hall, the world suddenly changed. A figure accompanied by a beam of golden light appeared before Luo Feng, and most deferentially, he greeted, "My greetings to Lord Milky Way." Luo Feng smiled. Every warrior coming in here would have met this figure with golden light. In the past, this figure bathed in golden light was completely hard-hearted, yet now, it was incomparably reverent. There isn't a single warrior around. Luo Feng looked around. The surroundings were void of everything. Apparently, Luo Feng had been led to an isolated domain. Lord Milky Way, this is the ring of the military point. The figure bathed in golden light flipped his hand, and in the middle of his palm, an exquisite ring appeared. Lord Milky Way may make use of this ring of the military point to enter the world of military arms anytime you wish. So long as you are within the world of Jinn, you may enter the world of military arms. There is no need for you to personally come down here to the military point. Luo Feng's eyes lit up. The authority of Lord Milky Way begins the moment you receive this ring of the military point. The ring flew from the figure over to Luo Feng. With arm outstretched, Luo Feng received the ring. "I would like to look at information on all the warriors who are lawmasters and those who have joined the 4 major armies in the recent 3 eras," he said. "Also, would you be able to simulate the auras of these warriors?" "Of course," said the figure bathed in golden light. The life form's aura is indeed the most accurate identification method to determine their identity. Of course, we can do a simulation. Lord Milky Way has enough authority for such a request. Suddenly, in the empty space beside him, figures started appearing one by one. All these were simulations of the warrior figures, who had joined the 4 major armies over the recent 3 eras. At first glance, all of them made a mighty sight. "That's quite a big number," Luo Feng muttered to himself. Luckily, it is only 3 eras. Luo Feng was considered to be from one of the earliest batches. Since he had entered the world of Jinn, only slightly more than 2 eras had passed. Warriors sent by Purple Moon Holy Land could certainly still be found within this time span. Let's begin. Luo Feng quickly started checking through. How fast could the speeds of conscious calculation and godly power response of a great being be? Merely a moment had passed. He had very quickly made his selection. A total of 96 from Purple Moon Holy Land joined the 4 major armies, Luo Feng said quietly. In fact, Purple Moon Holy Land had sent more than what he had calculated. However, to be accepted into the army, the Universe Masters needed to first join the selections. No matter how amply prepared Purple Moon Holy Land was, there was no way it could ensure a 100% entry rate. These 96 of them, Luo Feng contemplated. If I want to kill them all, I must do it in one swift move. I cannot afford to take my time. The moment they are alerted, they will escape very quickly. That's not right. Just as Luo Feng was deliberating on how he should kill these 96 universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land, his expression registered a slight change. If I kill them all this time around, won't I be alerting Purple Moon Holy Land? Then, when the next era comes, will Purple Moon Holy Land still send universe masters in here? Primal universe, primal secret region, in the endless remote ocean. Teacher. Amidst the mighty waves, a lone figure appeared. It was none other than Luo Feng. Luo Feng, said Primal Chaos City leader, looking at him. You mentioned you have the authority to kill all the universe masters of Purple Moon Holy Land, who are within the world of Jin. Aha. Luo Feng nodded. The Wu Chi Tower mission. The deal between the godly king and himself. It was highly unlikely that Luo Feng would tell anyone else about these or several other factors. This Purple Moon Holy Land has always pitted itself against us humans, Luo Feng said in a low voice. If not for the fact that I am of a different status and authority level within the world of Jin, I'm afraid I would nearly have been played nearly to death by them. This time, I must take my revenge well. Let them, Purple Moon Holy Land, be unable to regain their strength and vitality within the next few reincarnation eras. But I was thinking, the second era has yet to end. Only a part of it has passed, so I'm guessing they will likely send in another big group during the third era. Now that the third era is nearing, when the time is right, I will cast the net and wipe them out once and for all. Primal Chaos City leaders, eyes lit up as he nodded repeatedly. Great. They used the first era to find out more about the place. The second era, they only sent in a portion of their universe masters. When the third era comes, they will send in another batch. By then, within our universe ocean, almost half of every group will be considered as having entered the world of Jin. To make a move, we do indeed have to wait until the third era. Also, not only do we have to make a move against Purple Moon Holy Land, but we also need to make a move against the United Forces Alliance, which always seem to be fighting the Human Alliance. We may have the upper hand now, but to truly gain the absolute advantage, who knows how long that will take. Now that you are in the world of Jin, let's finish off those in the world of Jin with one blow. The power of the demons, the bug soldiers, the automaton race, and several other races will definitely weaken. Eventually, they will no longer have the ability to resist. Primal Chaos City leaders' eyes were sparkling with madness and anticipation. That's right. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Then we humans will have many more eras to develop ourselves. If the human team and the United Forces Alliance kept fighting each other, the humans wouldn't have any advantage for billions of eras. Which is why, Luo Feng, a great responsibility now falls on your shoulders, said Primal Chaos City leader, and this time, we have to make sure that we succeed in one shot. He nodded. The original universe period is the most important period for a race. After all, only the original universe can breed universe supreme masters. Once this universe era is over, no universe supreme masters can be born. Luo Feng was excited by what Primal Chaos City leader had just described. If they could succeed, the bug race, the automaton race, the demon race, the prison race, and the crystal race would have to give up lots of territories. Then the humans would become the #1 race in the original universe. At the Python River Army, in the East Army of the world of Jin, Luo Feng left the military point and went back to his stone house. Military point ring. Luo Feng took out the delicate ring that had been bestowed to him at the military point. Start. Luo Feng infused his godly power. Hua. The surroundings in the stone house changed, and a vast world showed up. A golden being arrived. Lord Milky Way, said the golden being respectfully. I am here at your service, Lord Milky Way. You can contact the core of the world of Jinn. Lord Milky Way, I need to tell you first that I don't have any valuables, but this military point ring can form a military point world. I only have some information inheritance. If you want weapons or machine-type valuables, it will take some time for the valuables to be transported here through space transportation. Luo Feng nodded. Space transportation was akin to God country transportation. However, it was impossible to enter a God country while in the world of Jinn, so God country transportation was impossible. Let me check my military credits first, said Luo Feng. Lord Milky Way, your military points are 661,500, said the golden being. Also, you have high authority, so you can get the maximum military credits. For example, if you receive 100,000 military credits in exchange for a weapon, you can also get the weapon back for 100,000 military credits. Luo Feng smiled. Ordinarily, the military point was unfair in its rates. A weapon that granted the contributor 80,000 military credits might cost 120,000 military credits to buy back. However, Luo Feng held superior authority, so the military point wouldn't pocket the difference. As for the 6 million military credits, those were left by Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu. They are true gods of void space, and this is all they've got. Luo Feng shook his head. Let's see how much these valuables are worth. Luo Feng threw out a large number of valuables, armors, weapons, machine-type valuables, valuables used to recover godly power, and so on. They were all valuables left by Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu. The golden produced a trace of light that shone upon the weapons and armors. You can get 56,208,000 military credits in total, said the golden being. Oh. Luo Feng smiled. More than 50 million military credits. Just as I expected, those commanders exchanged their military credits for valuables. However, all they have combined is only slightly more than the value of Wu Qi God. Not impressive. Luo Feng's comment, which he uttered so haphazardly, would have infuriated any true god of void space. After all, only lawmasters and true gods could earn massive military credits. Once someone became a true god of void space, it would take them a long time to accumulate military credits. They could only gain military credits periodically as commanders. While they were still lawmasters or true gods, they could gain military credits quickly through catastrophe level or incarnation level tasks. Ordinary tasks only gave them valuables enough to recover their godly bodies. Swan Queen and Fire Polishing Wu had accumulated over 10 million military credits after all those tasks. They had become true gods of void space, and they had accumulated these military credits, subsequently exchanging them for valuables. Yet everything had been seized all at once. Lord Milky Way, said the golden being. With your authority, you can read all the information you want. As for valuables, you need military credits to get them. Luo Feng nodded. Give me the list. He had more than 60 million military credits. He could get lots of valuables. He immediately ordered many true god level valuables. 20 true god level palaces. 20 true god level armors. 20 true god level weapons. 20 true god level domain type valuables. 20 true god level soul type valuables. Wait. Luo Feng was irritated. Valuables. There were only a limited number of supreme true treasures in Universe Ocean. Was it because there were no supreme true treasures? No. Many great beings from the ancient civilization had died, and there were countless warriors in Universe Boat. That meant there should have been many valuables and weapons left by the deceased great beings. It was to be expected that over 1,000 supreme true treasures had made it out of the world of Jinn. However, there were always only a very limited number of valuables in Universe Ocean. Always a limited number. Luo Feng thought. Does the original mind keep it under control? If this is the case, the original mind might do something if I bring too many valuables back. Luo Feng then shook his head. Wait. This can't be the case. The original mind guided us to the world of Jinn. Apparently, it wanted us there. We are great beings from Universe Ocean, so naturally, we came here for the inheritance and the incredible valuables. Which means, the original mind wants us to get the inheritance and the valuables. Luo Feng was baffled. The original mind kept the balance before, so there were only a limited number of valuables and inheritance. Why? Why does it want us to be stronger? Is there a common enemy? Luo Feng wondered about this. After all, the original mind couldn't make any attacks on its own. Nobody had ever seen the original mind make any attacks personally. Apparently, the original mind followed a specific operation law. Luo Feng decided to only get 100 true God level valuables. He was intimidated by the original mind, so he decided that he wouldn't give those valuables away easily. I'll keep some of them in storage, and I'll give some to the top beings in the human race, thought Luo Feng. Besides, I need to leave some for the Earthlings, and I also need to prepare a small number for my family. Not only was Luo Feng a member of the human race, but he was also the leader of the Earthlings, which was a more important role for him. With the potential the Earthlings had, it would easily account for 1/50th of the power of the human race. If Luo Feng helped them enough, it was likely that the Earthlings could count for 1/10, 1/8, or even 1/7 of the total power of the human race. Luo Feng was happy to see that. Of course, the Earthlings needed to fight for themselves, and every accomplishment they would achieve would depend on them. He could only give them opportunities and inheritances. It only took Luo Feng around 3 million military credits to get 100 true God valuables. As for the remaining military credits, he was in no rush to spend them. Luo Feng could sense that the original mind had deliberately guided them into world of Jinn, and if there was really a danger coming, he would get valuables based on how dangerous the situation would be. After all, he only had a certain amount of military credits, and once he used them all, he couldn't just threaten another true God of void space, or ask the godly king for help. Milky Way Holy Land in the original universe. This Shawu Wing, remote ocean Luo Feng was sitting there, and the 10 wings were floating in front of him. Remote ocean Luo Feng infused his godly power into Shawu Wing, and he was studying carefully. Ha ha! I've finally understood it. The third level is indeed complicated. Normal great beings might only be able to utilize the third level after becoming true gods. Luo Feng sighed. Not every law master was as powerful as him. The third level of Shawu Wing. 2 traces of red light shot out of his eyes, shining upon the 10 wings. Drive. White mist permeated from the 10 pairs of wings, and centered around remote ocean body, and around the dimming black mist. An area of 120 square light years was covered by the mist. The white mist permeated, blocking the area from the outer world. This is, remote ocean Luo Feng looked dazed. Is this one thought void space? Burn. Burn. Remote ocean Luo Feng was exhilarated. He tried to maximize the power. He kept burning godly power by using the second volume of Duan Mia so that the void space around Shawu Wing surged. Under Luo Feng's control, the area could be enlarged and narrowed. This is one thought void space. A simplified version of void space with a single thought. Luo Feng was overjoyed. Even though it was a simplified version, it was still much more powerful than a domain supreme true treasure, which made Luo Feng incomparably excited. A support-based valuable could be very helpful. After all, it was a new level of power added to his own power. Besides, domain-type valuables were better at group attacks. Golden Country was only slightly weaker than Domain Supreme True Treasures. But the third level of Shawu Wing was much stronger than Domain Supreme True Treasures. What name should I give it? Luo Feng wondered aloud. Just as Luo Feng was trying to comprehend the third level of Shawu Wing. On the shore of the vast Lake of Python River Army Camp in the East Army of the World of Jin, 2 soldiers lay on the grass, looking frustrated. They stared at the sky without blinking. Where is Swan Queen? We can't find any trace of him. We've waited here for 6 days. It is said that Swan Queen always leaves a rainbow behind if she flies by. There's also no news that Milky Way has died. What should we do? Our ancestor is waiting for the news. Purple Moon Holy Land. Go and check whether Luo Feng is alive or not. Purple Moon Ancestor looked down and yelled. Ancestor, said a white-caped Universe Master, groveling. No soldiers from Purple Moon Holy Land are in Python River Army. Other soldiers aren't allowed to be in Python River Army Camp. Although we're friends with 2 soldiers from Python River Army, we can't just ask them to go to Luo Feng's place. Ancestor, Chengmu self-destructed, so there are no soldiers in Swan Queen Army anymore. Nobody can check whether Swan Queen is back or not. Ancestor. The Universe Masters were all telling the Ancestor how difficult it would be to find out the answer to his inquiry. After all, it was the world of Jin. Even though there were almost 100 Universe Masters in the army, they were like drops of water in the ocean. It was impossible to find out anything. Humph! Purple Moon Ancestor snorted. Suddenly, a female with 3 eyes and 8 arms opened her eyes and said, Ancestor, a piece of news just came from the original universe. Tell me. Purple Moon Ancestor yelled. The female answered respectfully. It's confirmed that the endless remote ocean is still lively. Apparently, that Luo Feng is still alive. Still alive? Purple Moon Ancestor looked irritated. In his opinion, it should have been easy to kill a Universe Master. He hadn't expected any failures. He turned to look at Chengmu Master nearby. How? Chengmu Master replied, Ancestor, we don't have a solid foundation in the world of Jin. Besides, all of us are law masters, so we have a low status. It's difficult for us to check news or set someone up. We can't find out why Luo Feng is still alive. After all, none of us are qualified to talk to Swan Queen. Purple Moon Ancestor nodded. He understood that although Purple Moon Holy Land was a holy land, the number of Universe Masters sent to the world of Jin was smaller than that in a tribe in the world of Jin. How can we kill him? Purple Moon Ancestor considered. Luo Feng entered from the outside. How did he earn the trust of the locals? Purple Moon Ancestor was perplexed. There must be a reason behind this. Time flew by. Luo Feng had originally thought that Purple Moon Holy Land would strike again, yet they didn't do anything. Eventually, the third era arrived. Finally, said Luo Feng, standing atop endless remote ocean. The third era has come, said Primal Chaos City Leader in a low voice, but his voice was trembling. Luo Feng, can you really kill that many Universe Masters in the world of Jin in only one shot? Those Universe Masters might be in different places, and if some of them die, other Universe Masters might panic, which means they'll try to get away, or even self-destruct. Self-destruction was a method for Universe Masters who had multiple bodies to escape. Primal Chaos City Leader rarely questioned Luo Feng, but it was indeed a big deal this time. Have faith in me, teacher, said Luo Feng. Okay. Primal Chaos City Leader felt relieved. Other than the humans, many other races have also joined the Hong Alliance. Some of them joined voluntarily, but others were forced by us. Besides, the inheritance from the ancient civilization we offer is nothing compared to what is offered in the world of Jinn. 36 Universe Masters from the Hong Alliance went in last time, and after those Universe Masters bring back news from the world of Jinn, many more want to go, and there's no way we can stop them. Perhaps over 100 Universe Masters will go in this time. Luo Feng nodded. Subsidiary races were after all other races. Although they followed the humans, they would also seize any chance to improve themselves. The world of Jinn was a great opportunity. The United Forces Alliance, Primal Chaos City leader smiled. Many from the United Forces Alliance have entered the world of Jinn. And many more will go in this time. I understand, teacher. Luo Feng nodded, and his eyes glinted wildly. This issue determined race territories. He couldn't be soft. The bug race territory. Empress. Empress. 20 beings were standing in the palace, while the noble Empress was seated. Even the humans can't control the races under them. Bug Empress looked down and smiled. The great beings from other races in the Hong Alliance also long for this, so many of them will enter the world of Jinn. We of the United Forces Alliance can also get in without any trouble. Then she added slowly, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. There are many supreme true treasures in the world of Jinn, and there are also wonderful machine-type valuables. Once we have those, we'll be much stronger. The competition in the world of Jinn will determine which team in the original universe wins. Which means you must get as many inheritances and valuables as possible in the world of Jinn. Yes. 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 All the 20 Universe Masters of Bug Race were enthusiastic. It was a tempting realm, this world of Jinn, a world that belonged to them. Demon Race Territory. Shock Demon Ancestor's voice rumbled and echoed in the space. Our United Forces Alliance is always being one-upped by the human team. We will eventually fail if nothing changes. The world of Jinn is our only chance to turn things around. Compared to the world of Jinn, the valuables we have now are a joke. In the world of Jinn, there exist valuables thousands of times more precious. There were towering beings in the surrounding area. Some were from the demon race, and some belonged to other races in the Demon Race Alliance. Howl. World of Jinn. Machine-type true treasures. Everyone was howling. Go, said Shock Demon Ancestor. Go get those valuables and inheritances. The entire United Forces Alliance had reached a consensus that the world of Jinn was their only chance to turn things around. And besides that, the world of Jinn was tempting to begin with. All the powers in the United Forces Alliance, the Bug Race, the Demon Race, the Automaton Race, the Prison Race, the Crystal Race, the Northern Territory Alliance, and the remaining members of the Freedom Alliance, all entered Universe Ocean, marching toward the world of Jinn. This is our chance. The world of Jinn is the chance for Space Beast Alliance to have more Universe Supreme Masters. The old Beast God looked down. No matter how the United Forces Alliance fights the humans, we shall help neither. All we need to do is utilize the world of Jinn to make us stronger. Stronger. All the space beasts were filled with expectation. Although they had chosen to stand with the United Forces Alliance when the human race was fighting them, they didn't have any territorial conflicts against the humans. The old beast god had negotiated with the humans several times, and he had even leveraged his past relationship with Luo Feng, hoping to gain forgiveness. The Space Beast Alliance had compensated the human race. Luo Feng had thought back to his past relationship and considered the fact that he had a golden horned beast body. The humans and the Space Beast Alliance were at peace now. The Space Beast Alliance decided not to interfere anymore, opting to compensate humans. To the humans, they had fought alongside the United Forces Alliance mainly for territories. After all, the human race had long been at an advantage, so their opposition had no chance to occupy their territory. They were fighting because they wanted more territories, particularly some core territories. The Space Beast Alliance, however, didn't need territories at all. There was no reason to keep up the fight. As for the demon race and the automaton race, the only means of negotiation were for the demon race and the automaton race to give up all their territories and be left with only a small area in the remote region of the original universe. After all, the demon race, the automaton race, the bug race, and the humans occupied the best territories in the original universe. Just as the great beings in the original universe were all rushing toward Universe Ocean, 3 ancestral gods sat on thrones in Ancestral God Palace, in the Ancestral God Secret Region. A dim light filled Ancestral God Palace, and a giant whirlpool rotated above it. 3 light pillars enveloped the 3 ancestral gods. All the guards outside kneeled down as they realized that it was the great original mind sharing a piece of information. This is the time. Go. Live or die. Only war. Destined. Incarnation. Messages kept being sent to the 3 ancestral gods beneath the whirlpool. Eventually, everything faded away. The 3 ancestral gods, who had their eyes closed, gradually opened their eyes. They looked at each other, terrified. So this is what's going to happen, the youngest ancestral god said, shaking. Last time, I was confused as to why the great original mind had allowed that giant object to show up and why it guided them. Without the great original mind, countless great beings will die before they even find a way to enter the world of Jinn. This is the reason behind all these. It shows up in our incarnation era. The double-faced ancestral god was also shaking. This is a disaster. I've known for a long time that Universe Ocean was mysterious, and it's difficult to inspect it. There's too much we don't know. I can't believe it's this catastrophic. Even Huge Axe founder was killed instantly. Let's hope they got much stronger in the world of Jinn, and got more valuables to face this apocalypse. Let's go. Let's go tell all the powers in Universe Ocean. This video will end here.